here there be spoilers. Beware any you haven't read yet. Avast, ye viewers! Ge back afore ye be spiled of this book.
Evening, everyone. Graz from the GKBC. Here with, oh boy, this is book number 5 for January and the 12-12-12 challenge. Kind of like probably one of the more popular books I'm going to read this year. I kind of try to stay away from popularity. You know, I like to read things that people haven't heard of, including me. But this was on the list of best vampire books of all time, which is how I made my list. So, book number 5 is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady, Hendrix. And before I go any further, I have to show the picture of him in the back, because isn't that just so fancy? He's snazzy, a fancy lad. So this is not your typical vampire book. I mean, it's got all of your elements that are normal. You know, vampire moves into a sleepy town, or, you know, a town where everything's kind of already, you know, very routine. And vampire starts wreaking havoc. You know. And then it usually goes one of two ways. Either the townsfolk band together to try and get rid of the vampire, or, like in this book, one person realizes what's going on, or a very small subset of the neighborhood or town, and they have an uphill battle to do their fight. And that's what this one does. Patricia has a very uphill battle. The thing that is the best about this book is the vampire is not conventional at all. He's not your fangs and neck type of vampire. He's not psychological vampire. No, he's got this thing, this like cockroach proboscis or proboscis that comes out of his mouth and latches on to the inner thigh, and he basically drinks from what I'm guessing is the femoral artery, or in that area. It's pretty gross, especially when he does it on a 9-year-old girl, and then a 17-year-old girl. But anyway, that's the basic idea of the book. Now let me get into my likes and my dislikes, because as you know, I do dislikes and likes, and unlikes, and obey the pirate. If you want to read this and haven't, and you don't want to get it spoiled for you, then thanks for the view, if you've given me one, and I will see you next time. Number 1, it's just one of those little things that when I read it or somebody says it, it really bothers me. And I know that not everybody's into baseball, and not everybody kind of understands the terminology, but if you're going to make a big point of it being in your book, then get the terminology correct. They're runs scored, not points. There are no points in baseball. There are runs scored. And that really, really bothered me, because it's not like a character being ignorant intentionally, you know, by the author. You know, like a character just kind of saying, oh yeah, we had 3 points, not understanding the game. It's the author saying that, and it bothers me a lot. Number 2, and I mean, this is all of the characters. Well, every single one of them, the females, or the wives, the husbands, all of that. But Patricia, the main character, more so than anybody else, is way much too worried about how she's viewed or seen by the other people, at least at first. I mean, I get that it's a southern town and that the women, they form a group, and then it's like, oh, well, what's she wearing this season and stuff. But it's just not one of the things I like. Number 3, the hubbies are far too obtuse when it comes to actually listening to their wives about what might be wrong in this town or in this neighborhood, this street. They're far too obtuse. They are determined not to listen. I mean, and that really bothered me because we're talking about their wives here. Not a group of strangers that came in and tried to make them believe something. They actually believe the stranger over their family. And I thought, oh, that's kind of stupid. That's just that. I'm not so sure how well that would work. Maybe it was the vampire's influence, but that's never addressed. So it just shows that they're just obtuse to be obtuse. And I only had 4 dislikes. The 4th one is, this one has kind of a, until the very end when the wives really stand up and fight back. This has too much of a Stepford Wives thing to me, where the women are just expected to just go along with what the husband says, and that just didn't grab me the way it probably grabbed other people, I guess. I don't know. There's quite a bit of misogyny in here, and yeah. I have 6 likes. So number 1, the humor that's thrown in at the beginning is awesome. A character that we meet in the first chapter and then almost never see again, which I was sad about, Marjorie, was amazing in her attempt to be a dictator for the book club. I mean, I wanted to see more of that dynamic, and it kind of disappears almost as fast as it shows up. But it's a nice opener to the book. The friendships of the main 5 women, and how it's written that when one's down, the rest of them kind of like band together to come to the rescue, was lovely. I really liked the way that was written. Like, Patricia's mother-in-law has to move in, and she says, I'm gonna have to start missing some stuff, and Grace she mobilizes the rest of the group, and they come in and they take care of her so she could go do stuff. There might be 6 of them. I might have had that wrong. And then there's a scene. Grady Hendrix shows that he knows how to hit you right in the emotions. Patricia and Mrs. Green go to visit this poor lady who's missing her daughter. And this poor woman offers them light beer or Kool-Aid like 5 times. And she puts out 2 little snack pack bags of Fritos as her best. And it just breaks your heart in the sincerity of the moment. Like, this is actually her best, and this is what she's offering. And it's sweet. Number 4, and I know I say spoilers, but I'm not going to really get into this in case you want to read it, because I don't want to give this part away because it's kind of cool. But what a fabulous way to kill a vampire. Or did they? Anyway. Number 5, the dog, Ragtag. I literally sobbed when he died. Because he dies of old age finally. And that's after his battle with the rats, where he takes on like 50 rats and somehow survives. And good little doggy. And then when he dies of old age, it just... the daughter and I, a few years ago, sat here with one of our cats and literally lived this scene. as our cat died in our arms. So, I mean, it was almost too hard to read. So good job there, Hendrix. You know how to rip people's hearts out. And the last one is, there's a feeling online that I read that the men kind of got away with how they acted and treated their wives all through the book. And I feel that they didn't, because every single one of them gets ruined financially by this vampire, and you know, they all kind of have to take a step back. And then Carter, Patricia's husband, really gets it running, because he treats her the worst, and she finally steps up and says, I want a divorce. And he's all I can't think of the word right now, but he's very condescending or something to her when he's telling the kids what's going on. And then he's like, so who do you want to live with? And they both choose mom. And he's just like, thunk. And I love that. So they really didn't get away with anything. Those chickens came home to roost. Now, the numbers, which I forgot to give you at the beginning. This has a 3.82 overall rating on Goodreads. And that is across 154,646 ratings and 23,930 reviews. So, wow, a lot of people have read and rated this book. It is my copy, is the hardcover copy, and it is 404 pages, published in 2020. The cover art is by Liz Wheaton, and the design was by Angie Reed. And I gave it a 7.56 out of 10, which is, about a 3.75 if you go by the Goodreads. So I'm right around average on this. It was okay. I don't understand how this is the best vampire book of all time, according to some people. Maybe because it's different, maybe because they're in the same bored rut of their lives. But, I mean, it's worth a reread, I guess. And I will pass it on at least to my mom, because this is the type of book I think that she would really appreciate. So, that is book number, I think I said 6. 1, 2, 3. Yep, number 6 of my January and 12/12/12. Have you read this book? If so, what did you think? Have you read any other books by Grady Hendrix? Because I've heard a couple of his books are pretty solid. And if so, tell me what you thought of him, if I should read something else by him. Just tell me what you thought. I love to read comments. I reply to everyone unless I miss one, which I try not to. So until then, I will see you next time, and keep flipping those pages.